Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About the Ascension of Humanity, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern science and spiritual evolution gets real. I'm Heather, an energy healer, channel, and spiritual coach with Divine Ascension Company. Each week, we're diving deep into the mysteries of human consciousness, spiritual awakening, and the profound transformation happening within us and around us. But here's the thing. We're not doing this with our heads in the clouds. We're bringing neuroscience, psychology, quantum physics, and cutting-edge research to the table alongside meditation, energy work, and timeless spiritual teachings. Because the truth is, the ascension of humanity isn't some far-off cosmic event. It's happening right now in the choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, and the healing we do within ourselves. Whether you're curious about how mindfulness literally rewires your brain, why shadow work is backed by depth psychology, or what coherence between your heart and mind actually means scientifically, you're in the right place. We'll explore practices like breathwork, meditation, and emotional alchemy, not as abstract concepts, but as tangible tools grounded in both spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. And here's where it gets even better. In our bonus episodes, you'll hear from real people sharing real stories. These are the warriors, the healers, the everyday seekers who've walked through their own darkness and found their light. They'll share their breakthroughs, their struggles, and the resources that actually help them along the way. Because personal growth isn't a solo journey, and you deserve to know you're not alone. So whether you're just beginning to question the nature of reality, or you're deep in your spiritual practice, this podcast is your companion on the path. It's time to expand, to awaken, and to rise together. Let's begin. Today's guest lost the love of her life 9 months into their relationship, and somewhere on the other side of that grief built an entire business, a Reiki practice, wrote a book, and built a Facebook community for people who don't often see themselves represented in the wellness space. Courtney Buckley is a Reiki Master Teacher, intuitive guide, and channel, and the founder of Soul Frequencies. She works with the nervous system and the energetic body to restore safety, the actual foundation that healing has to be built on before any of the rest can take root. Courtney and I have been close collaborators for a long time now, and this conversation feels like it. It was easy, honest, occasionally a little profane, exactly how we actually talk when the mic isn't rolling either. And in this episode, we get into what energetic inflammation actually means, the difference between healing symptoms and healing the root causes, a trick for talking to yourself in third person, and the actual neuroscience behind why it works, and the loss that changed the entire direction of her life. We also talk about her new toolkit for people who need something fast in the middle of a spiral, her book that was just published, and the neurodivergent and perimenopause series that we've just launched after we recorded this episode together. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we have a very special guest and a very close friend of mine, Courtney Buckley. We have been doing a lot of really good work together, and I'm super excited for you guys to meet her. How are you doing today, Courtney?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. So why don't you go ahead and get us started and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
So I'm Courtney, and I am the owner and founder of Soul Frequencies. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher and intuitive guide. I also channel and am an author. So I kind of have many hats.
Don't we all?
So what I do is I kind of work with energy, the chakra system, the meridian pathways. I restore safety or we work to restore safety in the body, and which in turn will kind of lead to becoming a more authentic version of yourself. I have learned throughout my journey that while I was healing pieces of myself, I was never healing the whole. And it wasn't until I restored that safety that I realized, wow, no, no healing can really take root until that safety is restored. And if you even think about it on a physical level, when there's inflammation, when there's, things going on inside your body, healing cannot take place with any of those things going on. So when you look at an energetic level, it's kind of the same thing. When you have a bunch of noise, when you have a bunch of chaos going on, energetic inflammation, as I call it, like a lot of the things that you're trying to work on seem to kind of just circulate rather than being able to release it and move forward. So that's kind of what I work with and what I do. And when I do sessions, again, am intuitive guide, and channel. So things do pop up throughout the session. And by popping up, I mean like messages and guidance from not only my guides, but the clients' guides. I connect with their team as well. And then I kind of have morphed through this journey of owning a business as well, of what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I've learned that when things do come up, I've learned to write them down instead of talking through the whole session because it saves so much more time to write it down and then go over it at the end. So that's what I do now. And then I'll even type it up at the end and send it to them because again, I know that what I'm saying to my client, they're only going to be processing a fraction of what I'm telling them. So if they have it in written form after the session while the energy is integrating over the next few days, they'll be able to process that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Awesome. And so it's really, this is amazing because so many, especially the last few episodes that I've recorded that have aired before this one, the nervous system keeps popping up a lot. And it's something that I think, I know I've mentioned this before on the show, but it's something that I think people kind of gloss over when they're doing their healing because we're so programmed, especially with Western medicine and things, to look at everything at a surface level and look at the symptoms and try to attack the symptoms and heal the symptoms. But, and even with the inner child healing and stuff that I do, like you really have to get to the root cause. And a lot of it stems from a dysregulated nervous system. The situations, the trauma, the wounds, the limited beliefs, they might be different, but a lot of it has that root anchor in the nervous system. It's so
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's great about when I found Reiki, everything shifted for me. Everything changed because I knew that there was always something deeper. Like how do I get to the root cause? I need to stop putting band-aids on everything and I need to get to the root of why these patterns keep happening, whether that be physical patterns, emotional, mental, all the things and over the course of that, I've also learned that healing isn't linear. I mean, it's ongoing and we're like an onion, you keep having to pull back layers at a time. They don't all come shed at the same time or all at once, you have to keep plugging away. And what's great about Reiki is that it it literally facilitates healing down to the cellular level. Once you get things balanced up and you remove that energetic inflammation, restore that safety, things can really start healing energy can really take root at that cellular level. And then it's upon my, responsibility. I don't know if I want to call it responsibility, but that intuitiveness of that I can channel because a lot of my clients don't know exactly what's coming up. So it's me that is receiving some of these things like, hey, and I always tell my clients, take what resonates, leave the rest, like not everything has to resonate, I'll tell them just because something doesn't resonate doesn't mean that it's not necessarily true or that I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs,
Yeah, a lot of times with the intuitive knowings and stuff, the things that we get, like it might not make sense right now, but give it some time. It might like fall into place and you might put
You'll have an aha
together.
moment, I
Hmm.
guarantee you.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it might not be today, but it could be a week from now. Heck, it could even be a year from now. But
Right.
you'll have that aha moment, and you're like, "Oh, I remember when she said that." And then you're gonna be like, "Oh, and then that's when it comes full circle. And maybe it was meant to not come up for a while because your body wasn't ready to heal it yet. Your nervous system wasn't quite feeling safe enough to let that part of it go. So yeah, Reiki has been a huge stepping stone in my healing journey, and I do self Reiki every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I do offer, like, I do record meditations, and I do inner child healings as well, kind of different from yours, but still same premise. Mine's more kind of meditation based right now until I evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there, but I haven't done one in a while, but I've had massive positive feedback from the ones that I have had. So that's great. But so I mean, and it's not just the hands-on or hovering above, kind of healing that I do. And again, I want to preface all of this with, I'm not actually doing any of the healing. Like, my clients are doing the healing. I'm just there to facilitate and move the energy, help it go where it's needing to go. It's upon you to continue the work, but your body is literally doing the work for you. So yeah, it's been great.
It's amazing to me because I mean, we talk about this a lot, especially in the practitioner space, about as a healer, we're not actually doing the healing, we're just holding that safe space and providing a little bit of guidance in whatever form that may take to allow the client to facilitate their own healing. And so it's interesting because even with Reiki and stuff, like there is that important underlying fact about your body really does know what it needs to do. And by going to a practitioner, not only are you getting the guidance or the intuitive hits that maybe you aren't open enough to receive yet, but also you're giving that permission to your body by going and scheduling the session to do what it's going to do and what it knows how to do. And so, we do have this inherent ability to be our own healers. It's just that, we have to kind of work up to that point because sometimes there is so much noise. Sometimes there are so many layers that you're not as open and receptive to having that connection for yourself, but it's also partly the practitioner's responsibility as well, and I've talked about this before, to make sure that you're giving your client that knowledge and education so they can take that sovereignty and not have to rely on you forever to do this and learn how to do it for themselves. So that's the
Absolutely.
part too. Yeah.
I tell my clients too, like, and my language has evolved throughout the few years that I've been a practitioner, and I can even notice the pattern as well as in my language, how it's evolved from, just things popping up and telling it how it is, how it's kind of softened a little bit, and asking, and I'm leading with more curiosity rather than, this is what it is and you should do it this way and blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't, there's no right way to do this. There's no, you know, I don't know. I always just let my clients know that, this is not meant to be like a long-term thing. While Reiki you can use forever,
Right.
and especially on yourself, but for what's going on right now or what you're trying to tackle right now, a few sessions here, and I don't like to see my clients any less than, within 2 weeks of each other. Like, I want you, energy takes some time to
Right. You
integrate,
need to have that integration phase. Yeah.
Exactly. And some people take longer than others, like the initial integration period is 24 to 72 hours, but, sometimes it can last up to 2 weeks, really kind of I like to think of like, the old TVs that had the snow on it or the ants racing or whatever. And I like to think of that static, right? Like after a Reiki session, that's what the energy is doing, right? It's all discombobulated. And now it's going to, over the next few days to however long it takes, it's going to start to settle, and it's going to, kind of center itself and really lock itself in, and I always use the analogy too. It's kind of like a chiropractor, but on an energetic level. Think of me as a energetic chiropractor.
Yeah.
Because while we have our physical spine, our chakra system is our energetic spine, and that's what I'm working with. And when you go to this chiropractor, that first session that you have with your chiropractor, your body's not going to hold in that position right away. It's so used to being in that other space that it takes a few sessions. Sometimes, it takes a couple months to get to a place where it really stays in that new place where it's supposed to be. So, and Reiki's the same way. It holds for a while, but you got to be consistent with your practice. Otherwise, it's not going to hold. And that's where a lot of people kind of fall off, is because they come once and they think it's a one and done thing, and it's not. But, I can only inform so much, and they have to make their own decisions. But I try to encourage them, even if it's 2 or 3, that's better than, nothing, Yeah. But I've luckily over the years, I'm getting off topic, sorry, but I've had, a lot of repeat clients because they know, they're like, oh, I'm really starting to notice a difference and this and that. And so they're wanting it to kind of stay in place for longer, because now rather than it staying in place for a couple days to a week, now it's staying in place for a month or 2, and so then we come back, we'll readjust. And then it'll last a little bit longer next time, So that's the great thing. And seeing that really transpire within patients, clients, is really kind of, it's a really powerful moment to witness, and to see how even their language changes, how they carry their body is different, how their face lights up when they're like, they notice that the patterns are changing. They're like, I used to be so reactive to this, and now it's just, oh, well, yeah, I'm just like, yes, that's the point.
Right.
Your body is starting to recognize the safety again. And so you're not being so reactive to the outside noise, the outside triggers that once used to bother you,
Right.
So yeah, I think that this is and I think it needs, and we have a lot of Reiki practitioners in this world, or even just any energy healing modality, really. And I think since COVID, it's really started to come out of the woodwork. People are trying to figure out more natural ways to go about things, because they're realizing that Western medicine is not giving them everything that they need.
Right.
And or doing them a disservice, one of the two. And so they're trying to find alternative ways, and so it's not so woo woo anymore. People are really starting to like, oh, well, I mean, what could it hurt if I don't feel anything, or if I don't see an improvement, then, well, I'm just out, whatever that session costs, and I just won't do it again and move on. But, I feel like it's really coming to a point where people are starting to talk about it more. And I still think we have a long way to go. I think it still needs to be talked about more. But again, I can see past where we're at right now, and it'll get there. It will get there. It's just a matter of time. So,
And even just in the last, well, like you said, since COVID, we've come quite a bit, from where it used to be, where it was just like, oh, that's another conspiracy theory, or that's another woo woo thing, or that's not real. That's,
or it's witchcraft.
Right. So I think we have made great strides in the last 5 to 10 years, but we still do have a lot of ways to go. But I think it is getting a lot better. I did want to ask, you said earlier that Reiki really changed your life substantially and your journey, and I'm curious
Oh,
how that experience was for you, but also why you got into Reiki in the first place.
I knew this was going to come. So 2019, the love of my life passed away. And we didn't have much time together on this earth. It was a short 9 months. But when we met, it was instant. It was, I mean, we recognized each other instantaneously and there was no going back. It was love at first sight. It was like, we even joked like, when can we get married? Granted, it was a joke, but I mean, but those feelings came on fast. I mean, and it to a point where it scared us both, and we kind of broke up, but we couldn't stay away from each other, so we got back together, but without the title, and it just kind of did that dance, for 9 months, and then one day I worked part-time or seasonally at a steakhouse locally, and I went into work and I got a phone call from his cousin's wife. And she never calls me. So that was a red flag. I'm like, well, something's up. Let me answer this. So I answered it and she was hysterical. I couldn't understand her. The only word I heard was die. And I'm like, whoa, back up. I said, I need you to take a breath because I can't understand a word you're saying. I said, who died? And she said, Rick died. And I just remember going ghost white, feeling cold, no life in me. And I just stood there like literally lifeless. Like I couldn't, and everybody at work, and it was the beginning of the shift. So luckily I had no tables or anything, but a few people noticed what was like going on. They didn't know what was going on, but they saw my reaction. And so they actually grabbed a chair from the dining room and pulled it back to the kitchen because they're like, you need to sit down. Like, it looks like you're going to pass out. And I couldn't even utter any words. And so then the tears started and I was hysterical. And long story short, I was in a very dark place for about 6 months, and I'm a single mom. And at the time, Henry was about 2. And I was like, I can't live in this space, So I went to the doctor. I got on depression medication, and that made me like a walking zombie. And I was like, fuck this. Like I can't do that. I can't even, like, the depression was easier than this medication was. Yeah. So I stopped taking that, but I was like, I have to function. I have to go to work. I have to clean. I have to cook. I have to provide for my son, all these things. And so I was grasping for anything that would help. And I stumbled upon a book, and it was by, I can't even remember, to be complete. Was it Gina DeVee? The Audacity to Be Queen Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee. Still follow her to this day. And that book was great, but it wasn't until the second book that I picked up, and I'm not much of a reader, but I picked up a second book, and it was How to Be a Badass by Jen Sincero. And that book changed everything. I finally saw a sliver of light, and I fucking grabbed on, and I held on for dear life. I'm getting my truth tingles. I grabbed on for dear life, and I did not let go. And things started, kind of little by little, opportunities started popping up. I hired my first coach and took everything in like a sponge. Then Henry needed to have, when he was a baby, he had his adenoids taken out, but he needed surgery to get his tonsils out. And I was scheduled to go on a trip to California to visit a friend. It was during COVID, so we had to quarantine before surgery, and then we had recovery time. So there was going to be 4 weeks that I wasn't going to be at work, right? Or at that job. And so he's like, my boss is like, just, call me and let me know when you're wanting to come back. And I this feeling was so strong. I remember it like it was yesterday, how strong this feeling was. And I'm just like, but I was scared shitless. I was like, huh. Having that been said, I think I'm going to use this as an opportunity to take my leave. And that's when I left that job. Well, that's when I left the job kind of, I was working every weekend at that point. But I was like, I'm going to take my leave here. I said, there's 4 weeks that I'm not going to be here. And I just feel like there's a bigger calling. And I was right. When I went to California, that kind of also was a huge kind of catalyst as well. And when I finally said, okay, I'm leaving this job, everything started falling into place. I started my student pilot journey, flying airplanes. I started my Reiki journey. There were like 5 people that asked me, they're like, have you ever looked into Reiki? And I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. And so by the 5th person who actually said, have you looked into theta healing? I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So I looked into it. I'm like, well, I guess I should have a session done before I really kind of, throw myself in. And when I had my first session, I'm like, holy crap. And I knew immediately that this was the path that I was supposed to take. So not only am I flying airplanes now I'm getting certified, being attuned to level 1. And again, it's during COVID, so I had to do it online, which was cool. Energy doesn't know time and space. So it was a really cool experience. And I remember having some of my first visions during the attunement. And always know like that saying of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's exactly what happened. And I remember it was probably, I want to say 6 months to a year after that, I was wanting to do an in-person class just to know the difference and from virtual to in person. Because how I learn very hands-on. And so I wanted to just feel the in-person experience. So, and that's when I felt that feeling of like, okay, it wasn't even a week later. And there's a teacher that popped up in Lincoln, which is 15 minutes from me, that was doing a level 2 class over the weekend. And I was just like, huh, okay. So I went and did that. And level 2 is where you become a practitioner. And oh my gosh, the in-person for me it was different. It was equally as good, but it was different. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And that's when I knew that I was going to open my own business. But I have never owned my own business. I don't know crap about business. So it was really kind of being intuitively led, like I just opened the doors. But the girl who gave me my first session, when I want to say like a month before I got attuned at level 2, she came into my office. I was working in the dental field, and the voice, it sounded really familiar, but she had her hair up when I saw her. So I'm like, and this time she had her hair down, so I didn't recognize her. It was the voice. And I took her in the room and I was doing my thing, and I was like, your voice, it sounds so familiar. Like, I know you from somewhere. And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, that's it, Reiki. And she goes, Courtney? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I'm getting ready to be attuned at level 2. And she's like, well, when you do, why don't you come talk to me? I'm like, are you looking for a practitioner? And she's like, I am actually. And I'm like, shut the front door. So we ended up sharing a space together. That was my first place. And I stayed in that place for a couple years, and she had her first baby. So we ended up closing. She wanted me to take over the lease, but I didn't feel aligned. That's a whole nother story. But I opened up a place next to my house as well, a couple of years, like a year before we closed the space in Bloomington. And so that I had a place to fall back on. And I've had more business here than I've had there. So I know that it was super duper aligned. But where was I going with this? I got off on a tangent.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah, Rick, his passing was the catalyst that drove me to my personal development, my healing journey, my spiritual journey, all of the above, to writing, to all of the things. And And now I mean, like, I know he's always by my side, but now I know that he's one of my guides. And I'm talking daily. There's not a day that goes by that he's not right here. So I'm forever thankful. While it was sad and I didn't see the bigger picture there, then he might not be here in physical form, but he's still very much alive in his wittiness and his, staunchiness. And I mean, like, just his playfulness, all of it. He's still very much alive, just not in physical form. So that's what brought me here. And from this place, now that I'm here, it's just like, it's gone so much deeper. I never thought that it would go. I was just looking to get out of the hole, and now look at me. I'm in this completely different space and I am far beyond whatever I thought I was going to land. So I am forever grateful for that, and to him for being that person that came into my life. And not to mention that, like, he came into my life. One of his main purposes, I still believe, was to show me just how much someone can support me and love me for who I am. Like, he pushed me when I didn't see it for myself. He loved me for who I was. And now, and I remember saying, even shortly after he passed away, like, I won't accept anything less than what he gave me. And to be quite frank, like, it'll probably far surpass what he gave me. That I won't accept anything less than that, because I deserve that, and my kid deserves that. And that's why I knew I had to work on myself. I needed to become the best version of myself, or a better version of myself, because not only do I deserve that, my future person deserves that, and my kid deserves that. So I have to do me before I can ever allow someone else into that space.
Yeah.
And so he's really kind of molded me into, from many different aspects, many different forms, so I'm eternally grateful for him coming into my life. I mean, I can talk about him now without choking up and crying, because I just love talking about him, because he's done so much for me.
And you mentioned something about, where you're at now and how you didn't see any of that coming back then when you jumped into this whole journey. And I feel like that happens a lot especially with the practitioners, because it's like, a lot of us get into the healing space because we want to help others, and we're naturally, in that mindset. But we go through these experiences so that we can help others who are going through the same thing. And we find these modalities, we find these things that helped us, and we're like, we want to share that with other people. And that's so great. And I think for many of us, it's evolved from, because when I first started, I just wanted to do this program that I created, and it's evolved into so many more things and so many more modalities and ways to help people rather than just one thing. And it's turned into this whole business and a podcast that I never thought I would do, and a YouTube channel and a book. I just finished my first book. So, and I'm already thinking today about what the second one was going to be about. So it's amazing to see and hear and witness all of my guests, yourself included, how this journey unfolds, because it's such a beautiful thing.
It is truly beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong, there are lots of hard parts there.
Oh, yeah.
There, and that's a completely different subject, the light and the dark and all the things. But there are a lot of very hard times. But even just stepping back from being in those hard moments, it's truly a beautiful path that I'm walking. I feel so much freer, so much more aligned with everything. I don't feel so burdened anymore. I don't feel so hidden. I don't feel so not enough, like, it truly, just from a personal perspective, let alone what others feel about me, so I don't know. And what matters most to me right now, besides what I think of myself, is what my kid thinks of me, and how I show up for him, and how I show up in our life, how he is going to take all of that in. And that's how he is hopefully going to show up in the world as well, so it really is a beautiful, beautiful process. Even the hard, messy parts, they're still beautiful. Like I explained in my book as well, that, even Rick shows up in cardinal form when he's afar, that or a butterfly, and he is literally right outside the window.
I can hear it.
Anyway, so like acknowledging people, even the ones that may fall away from in your life, it's for a reason, it's for a purpose. But instead of looking at it and of like you did something wrong or whatever, you think of the reasons as to why that happened, or what they couldn't give you. And even though the hurt and the pain was there through all of that, something beautiful is still transpiring in that moment, because it's shaping you for the future version of yourself that you're becoming.
Absolutely.
And that's the beautiful part. So even in that pain, it's like a diamond being formed, under pressure and under all that pain and chaos and that suppression or whatever. Something beautiful emerges from it. And so I can't take anything away from the messiness, because I, as well, even though it's uncomfortable, I know that something beautiful is on the horizon, So I wish more people could look at it through that lens, because they are just looking. We all preach, to be more in the present moment and not live in the past or not live in the future, which is what depression and anxiety are. But just in this moment, like I wish people could look to the future and stop being so present and in what's uncomfortable now and what's messy now and painful now. Think of the future and what all of this is going to create, because it's teaching your body, if you can restore that safety, it's going to teach your body that you can live in those moments and you're still going to come out okay. I mean, we've done it our whole lives, haven't we?
Yeah.
We go through so much turmoil and shit that like we're still standing. We might have fallen down, but we got back up. It's never failed us. We are still here. So just thinking of what that future holds from all of this, I wish more people could look at it through that lens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even about being, in the future and looking at the future so much, but it's that knowing that something beautiful is going to come out of it and bringing that energy into the present moment so that you're not stuck in that discomfort. And yes, you have to feel it, but you bring that energy into the present moment to make it a little less uncomfortable and a little less painful, because
and to
something's
know that when you do restore safety, or when your body starts remembering what that safety feels like, those moments become a little less triggering or a little less reactive, a little less painful, because your body knows, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm not in any immediate danger. I'm not going to die because of this. I'm not going to starve. I'm not going to be unhoused. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
your body is recognizing that it's safe. So in turn, even in that uncomfortable, messy moments, it's going to not be as chaotic. It's not going to be as messy as what it might once have been. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I know one thing that's helped me when I'm going through those messy, difficult periods is like I sit and I connect to whatever it is that I'm connecting to, whether that's Mother Gaia, source energy, my guides, whatever it may be. And I'm like, okay, this is the present moment right now. I'm okay right now. Like I'm not in, like you said, in any immediate danger. I have everything that I need right in this moment. And so knowing that, yes, my electric might get shut off, or, I can't pay my rent on time, but that's for the future, because anything can happen between now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Surprising things can happen between now and then. So in this very moment, I know that I'm going to be okay. I am okay right now. And to sit with that and really let that help alleviate some of the anxiety that you go through with these things, where you're like, okay, I mean, this isn't, like you said, it's not a life or death situation in this moment. I have everything I need. I'm okay. And really grounding in that and holding that as a baseline for when things do get difficult and messy because they,
Absolutely. And I've even learned a little trick, and I know, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but even when how you talk to yourself is very, very important.
Mhm.
But I've learned that replacing that I statement with my name was powerful. It
Mhm.
literally brought me from a spiral to the present moment. And it did, and see, and this is where science gets really fucking cool, is because it activates two main parts of your brain. And you're
Mhm.
going to have to help me with the,
The
the
amygdala,
amygdala and the prefrontal
amygdala.
cortex. So what those things do is, it, like the prefrontal, it creates some space
Mhm.
between you and the thought that you were having some anxiety about, or depression, or whatever it may be. And it creates some space for you to slow down and say, hey, Courtney's safe.
Mhm.
She's not, she's been through worse, and she's lived through it to tell about it, right?
Mhm.
She can do it again and again and again. And it, so, and then the
Amygdala.
yeah. I don't know why that word is so hard for me to say. But that it kind of acts as a referee in
Mhm.
the ring, right? So, it's like saying ding 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 ding, hey, hello, now we've created space, and this referee comes in and say, hey, I'm gonna take you a time out, create that pause. And so I think that has really helped me, but also in those moments is expressing the gratitude, like
Oh yeah.
you and I talked about,
Mhm.
expressing that gratitude for the things that we do currently have, letting go of what could happen,
Right.
because let's be honest, statistically, only 85% of the things that you think could happen don't happen.
Or
So
they happen very differently.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So taking some time to be grateful for the things that you really do have, and in this present moment,
Mhm.
even if you did, get a notice of your electric being shut off. Well, I'm thankful that I got electricity right now, and that I have heat in my place, and that I'm not freezing, or, it comes down to simple things, your food and your water and basic living needs. So it really does go really far. I I can't explain it any other way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. And it really does come down to those basics. And it sounds so simple and so silly, like because we have a tendency to want to overcomplicate everything, but it really is that simple.
Yes.
Start there, yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
everybody has that. And don't get me wrong, I was in that space. I'm sure you were too, that we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. We overthink and we over analyze everything
Yeah.
to make it more difficult than what it really is. If you just stopped and put, like, that's why I had to master the art of pause, because in reality, I was letting my thoughts they were just intrusive, and they were just making me
Taking
go,
control. Yeah.
yeah, like they were literally in control. So mastering that art of pause, man, it made me so that I could take that step back and get a broader view of things, or even shift my focus to a different lens, and be like, oh, I didn't see that before because I was in mid spiral or whatever. So it's really those basic things, like you said, that come down to, it's way easier than you think it is. It's
Mhm.
so much easier. But people don't see that. So us practitioners are the people here that put that in front of them, so that they can learn those tools and have those resources and have the safe space that they need in order to really integrate those things. So
100%.
yeah.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
why don't you tell everyone who's listening about your projects, your website, what you're doing, and your book, of course, and let people know how they can get a hold of you if they want to take part of any of your services.
So recently I put together a couple little offerings. The first one I did is kind of like a surface level thing. It's more of a resource to use in the moment. It's called the Nervous System Reset Toolkit. And it's a 9-minute audio that you listen to and takes you through the steps. And then I created more of a shorter version of that in like a 2 to 3 minute audio, along with what I call a pocket toolkit that are things that you can literally like carry in your back pocket, only it's like, our phone. That are simple practices. They're like in the moment practices, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, rubbing your ear to activate the vagus nerve, things like that will take you out of mid spiral or a feeling of overwhelm. When you're out and about, half the time people won't even notice that you're doing any of them because you can do them silently. And so that's something that one is only $11. The next one that I did is a little bit more deep than that one. It's something that I did 5 master classes in the past, but I only bundled 4 of them because the first one I forgot to hit record till halfway through. So I was a rookie then, So anyway, so I bundled my master classes together and created an integration guide that you can use after watching each master class. And they're everything from, self-worth, reclaiming your self-worth. I think that first one was procrastination, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, self-worth, the dancing, like with the masculine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, those really kind of dancing in harmony, a few others. So it's really kind of getting more on a deeper level of recognizing who you really are underneath one's unmasking, all underneath all those masks. And then the integration guide to ask deeper questions, which are like, I'm one of those people that it's go big or go home. Like I don't like surface level fluff. So they're deep questions and they make you reflect in a very personal way. In fact, some can probably get uncomfortable, but that's the whole point of this. So, right. That one is $111. Then I have my guided journal that I created again with, I don't like surface level BS. So those are really deep questions and they go through, it's not just like writing down your answers to these questions. It's really integrating these things. So like draw pictures of what this feeling looks like, whether that be jagged lines or, stippling or, whatever the case may be, like it, and then feel it in your body, place one hand over the heart and, really getting to the like integrating on all the different energetic body levels. Mm-hmm. So, and that can be found on Amazon. It's called the Soul Pilot Journal and it is $10.99. And then I just wrote a book. It hasn't been published yet. It's still in the process, but it is called The Art of Remembering. And it is my journey through, from Rick passing away all the way through now and tools that I picked up along the way, my Reiki, all the things. And so you can really grab some things from my journey and use it for yourself as well. That will be coming out soon. Also, I know I'm forgetting something. I have a private Facebook group on Facebook. It's called Spicy Souls, Energy Healing for the Neurodivergent. I specifically work with neurodivergent and highly sensitive souls because I am one. I'm a spicy one. I'm ADHD and autistic as well. So I have a huge heart and a huge devotion for that community. And so I have a safe space on Facebook for those people that would like to join. I do encourage engagement, but I also encourage that if you're one of those silent observers, that's fine. I only want you to feel safe in this space. So come join me in that space. Again, it's Spicy Souls, Energy Healing for the Neurodivergent. I do have a website. It's under construction currently, but it'll be up in a couple days. It is soulfrequencieshealing.com. I was about ready to give my email. So soulfrequencieshealing.com is the website. And again, it's not live yet, but it'll be within the next day or two. It should hopefully by tomorrow, because that's when we start our series.
Yeah.
And that series that I had this vision of talking everything neurodivergent and perimenopause, because that's when a lot of things came into perspective for me, and the chaos that ensues with that stage of life, and how a lot of women just think that they're crazy and that something's wrong with them. And so we're going to be putting on you and I are going to be putting on a 7-episode series, one a week, on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Zoom. You give the website to register, because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
This is going to air way after that's over.
Oh, so that's right.
It'll be on my YouTube channel and hopefully yours by then. So yes. I'll make sure all the links get put in the description when this comes out. Don't worry.
Okay, perfect. So check that series out, because it's going to be a juicy one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm probably forgetting something, but I can't remember.
I'll make sure all your links get put in there. I have all of them. So
okay. All right, cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Courtney. It's been awesome talking to you, and I'm so glad that you finally got to be a part of the podcast.
Yay. Thank you for having me. I'm really trying to get that, that voice and that visibility out into the world. And this is just, one of those stepping stones. So here I am.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
If you're feeling called to go deeper, to actually sit in your own records and hear what your soul has been trying to tell you, that's what Akashic Records readings are for. I would love to hold that space for you. You can find everything at divineascensionco.com. Your answers already exist. Let's go find them together.